Hello everyone, I am Simran Kaur from Shiv Jyoti Educational Group, and today we will start our last chapter, which is Stars and the Solar System, chapter 17. The topics which we will see are the moon, the stars, constellations, the solar system, and some other members of the solar system. Do you know what is universe? Universe is everything which includes space, time, energy, matter, all the stars, planets, galaxies, everything is included in universe. And the objects which we see in the sky like stars, planets, sun, all those objects are known as celestial objects or heavenly bodies. And there is a science that studies all these celestial objects, and that science is known as astronomy. So write first internal question on page 231, what is astronomy, and mark the answer. The science that deals with the study of the universe is called astronomy, and those scientists are known as astronomers who study all these celestial objects. Now we'll discuss a few celestial objects in this chapter one by one. The first we are taking is the moon. In the night sky, we see a very bright object in the sky. That is what? That is the moon. The moon has no light of its own. It is visible due to the reflected sunlight falling on it. Now, in one of the chapter, we studied that moon is a non-luminous object. That means it does not have light of its own. So, how the moon is visible to us? Because of the sunlight. One part of the moon reflects those sun rays towards us, and that is how moon is visible to us. Thus, we only see that portion of the moon from which the sunlight is reflected towards us. Hence, the shape of the moon keeps on changing throughout the month. If you will watch moon from the same position every night for a month, then you will observe that the shape and size of the moon changes day by day. So, those day-to-day changes in the shape and size of moon is known as phases of moon. So let's define it. It refers to the appearance of the brighter portion of the moon during a month as seen by an observer on the earth. Moon's phases vary cyclically. Okay, let's see here. Let's say this is day 1 on which the complete moon is visible to us. So this day is known as full moon day because the full portion is visible to us. So a full moon day is that day on which the whole disk of the moon is visible. It is seen as a round shape, complete round. So write next internal question on page 232. What do you mean by full moon day? And mark the answer in point second. The day on which the visible portion of the moon is perfectly round is known as the full moon day. Now after this day, what will happen? After full moon day, the sunlit part of the moon visible from the earth decreases in size every day. After watching this complete full moon day, we'll see that the size of this moon start decreasing. Then a day will come on which the complete moon is not visible to us, and on that day is the 15th day on which the moon is not visible at all, and that day is known as new moon day. Now after this day, what will happen? Then again we'll see the small part of moon, and the size of moon will increase gradually. The day after a new moon, only a small portion of the moon appears in the sky, and that moon is known as crescent moon, like this. Only a few portion of moon is visible to us. After the crescent moon, again the moon grows larger in size every day. On the 15th day, once again we get full view of the moon. So this is a complete cycle which happens every month. Okay, this cycle takes nearly 29 days or a month. So initially it is new moon day, then we see some portion of moon, then the size of moon gradually increases, and on 15th day, the day is full moon day on which complete moon is visible. Then again the size of moon starts decreasing, crescent moon, and finally again the new moon. This is the complete phase of moon. Now the moon's surface. Now moon is very fascinating object for all the humans. So scientists want to know about the surface of moon. For that they have conducted so many experiments. So what they find out, that there are very large holes called craters all over the moon's surface. These are the the large holes. Craters means the holes, big holes are present on the surface of moon. And why there are so many holes? Because in the space so many celestial objects are there. Okay, so when those objects collided with the surface of moon, those objects left these big holes. So these big holes are named as craters. Craters are caused by solid bodies or rocks crashing onto the surface of the moon present in space. These are those solid rocks, solid bodies which collided with the moon's surface. No life can exist on the moon as there is no atmosphere on its surface. The moon has no atmosphere, okay, and because of that the temperature is very unstable. During daytime the temperature can rise to 123 degrees Celsius, and during night time it can drop to minus 123 degrees Celsius. So this temperature range, in this range life cannot exist, and in this range water can also not be there on the moon surface, as the moon has no water. So without water there is no life. Now this is American astronaut. Now the man sent a mission onto the moon, and this was the very first successful mission through which the man successfully landed on the surface of moon. And this happened in 1969, July 1969, and the first man who landed on the moon was Neil Armstrong, and he was followed by Edwin Aldrin. Okay, if you remember that in 2019 the whole world celebrated the 50th anniversary of this mission. Now next celestial body is stars. You have in the night sky we see many small spots. So those are what? Those are stars. Some are very bright, some are very dim. Even the sun is also a star. But why does it appear very big, very large in size and very brighter among all? Because the sun is very close to the earth. The distance between earth and sun is very less. All the stars emit their own energy in the form of light, so they are luminous bodies because they have their own light. Because explosion occurs on the surface of stars, because star is what? It is a body of gas, it is made up of gases. The amount of light emitted by stars differ from each other because some are very bright and some are very dim. Let's see few important facts. The sun is nearly 150 million kilometers away from earth, yet it is closest to the earth's surface. Very large distances are expressed in another unit of length known as light year. Now astronomical distances are very huge. We cannot express those units in kilometers or miles. So for that a different unit of distance is taken, which is known as light year. Although year is written here, but don't get confused, it is a unit of distance. So we use light year to define astronomical distances. So 1 light year is the distance traveled by light in 1 year. The speed of light is about 300,000 km per second. The distance of the sun from earth is nearly 8 light minutes. Or you can say that the sunlight takes 8 minutes to reach the earth's surface. That is 8 light minutes. The next nearest star to the earth after the sun is Alpha Centauri. The nearest star is sun, and next to the sun is Alpha Centauri, and its distance from the earth is 4.3 light years. That means the distance covered by light in 4.3 years. The stars appear to move from east to west. Why? Because the rotation of earth is from west to east. That is why it is seen that star move from east to west. Okay, here it is shown. This is our sun, this is The next star, Alpha Centauri. The pole star, now it has a unique property that this star remains stationary. Why? Because you know that Earth has its axis of rotation and it is tilted to 23.5 degree. So this pole star lies on this axis of rotation. Now this is an imaginary line. So this star lies on this axis, and that is how it always appears to be stationary. Now next word is constellation. If you have observed the night sky, then you have seen that many stars form a pattern, okay, a fixed pattern or a fixed shape. So those group of stars are known as constellation. A constellation is a group of stars which has recognizable shapes, like here are few constellations shown. Stars were grouped into constellations by ancient people to recognize stars in the sky. So they named few constellations. Let's see one by one. First is Ursa Major. This is a constellation. It is a group of 7 stars, and this Ursa Major is also known as Big Dipper. That means it looks like a big ladle or a question mark. Ursa Major consists of 7 prominent stars which appears like a big ladle or a question mark, extending imaginary line 5 times the distance between the 2 and stars towards north direction. Now if you will join these 2 stars which are present on the edge of this constellation, then it will direct towards the pole star. Now like Ursa Major, one constellation which is Ursa Minor is also there in the sky, and that constellation is very faint because it consists of faint stars and it is little bit smaller than the size of Ursa Major. The next is Orion. It is one of the oldest, best known constellation, and it looks like the hunter. The shape is like a hunter, and this is belt of the hunter. The next is Cassiopeia. This constellation is named after an Egyptian queen, and it looks like W, the letter W or M. It is a northern constellation which is visible during winter in the early part of the night and appears like a distorted letter W or M. It consists of 5 stars. It is a group of 5 stars. Okay, that was all about constellation. Now next topic is the solar system. Now our solar system is made up of sun and all those objects which revolve around the sun or spin around the sun, like planets, asteroids, comets. Sun, this is, or you can say this is the center of our solar system. It provides all the energy necessary to sustain life on the earth. Now the sun is made up of hydrogen gas. When 2 atoms of hydrogen combine, they form helium, and this process is known as nuclear fission, and because of this nuclear fission, a large amount of heat and energy is released. That is how we say that it is a ball of fire. Now the surface of sun is cooler than its atmosphere. The outermost layer of the sun is very hot. The sun's surface has a temperature of 6000 degrees Celsius. The planets. Okay, in your previous classes also, this is not a new topic to you. You know all the names of our planets. We have 8 planets in our solar system. Now, have you ever thought that why these planets never collide with each other? Because the reason is each planet has their fixed path on which they revolve around the sun, and those fixed paths are known as their orbit, and each planet has their orbit. That is why they never collide. Here is a list of 8 planets. Starts from Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. And Mercury is closest to the sun, whereas Neptune is present far from the sun. Now these 4 planets, Mercury to Mars, they are known as inner planets because they are closer to the sun, whereas from Jupiter to Neptune, they are known as outer planets because they are far from the sun. The time taken by a planet to complete one revolution is called its period of revolution. Now you know that a planet takes a particular period of time to revolve around the sun, so that time is known as their period of revolution. So by this you can say that Mercury has the shortest period of revolution, whereas Neptune has the largest period of revolution because of their distances. Now let's discuss each planet one by one. We'll start with Mercury, or Hindi we call it Budh. Mercury is so close to the sun that it is difficult to locate it because of the brightness of sun. It is very hard to locate it. However, it can be observed just before the sunrise or just after the sunset near the horizon, and it has no moons of its own. Now there is again no life on this Mercury planet because it is closest to the sun, and it has very thin atmosphere, a very thin and unstable atmosphere, due to which the temperature range is very unstable. No life can exist on this planet Mercury. Next is Venus. Venus is the brightest planet in the night sky, and it is often called the morning or the evening star, since sometimes Venus appears in the eastern sky before sunrise and sometimes it appears in the western sky just after sunset. So we call this Venus as morning or evening stars. Even it can be visible with our naked eyes also. Venus has no moon or satellite of its own. While the Earth rotates from west to east, Venus rotates from east to west. Okay, now the spin is completely different from our planet Earth. We know that Earth rotates from west to east. Now all the planets rotate this way, from west to east, except Venus rotates from east to west. Then this is our planet, the Earth. It is the third planet from the sun, and life exists on Earth. Why life is possible on our planet? Because it is at right distance from the sun. Distance matters the most, and because of the distance it has right temperature range. Okay, Earth has stable temperature. It has presence of water and suitable atmosphere. That is why life is there on the Earth, and it has existence of an ozone blanket over it. And what is the role of ozone blanket or ozone layer? It protects us from the harmful ultraviolet radiations. And Earth has its own moon. It has its natural satellite, which is the moon, which we have already discussed. The next planet is Mars, or in Hindi we call it Mangal. It is the fourth planet from the sun. It appears slightly reddish and is thus known as the red planet. Now it is known as red planet because of the presence of Martian soil, and that soil consists of rusty iron. That is why it appears red in color. And it has two small natural satellites, and those satellites are Deimos and Phobos. The next to Mars is Jupiter, the largest planet of our solar system, and about 1300 Earths can be accommodated in this giant planet. Now because of this great mass, it has very strong gravitational pull, so it attracts the most celestial object towards it. Its mass is about 318 times that of the Earth, so you can imagine how strong the gravitational pull is. And Jupiter has a large number of satellites. It has more than one satellite, natural satellite. The next planet is Saturn. Saturn, along with Jupiter, Uranus and Neptune, are referred to as Jovian planets or outer planets. It is yellowish in color. Now what is the unique property of Saturn? The distinctive feature of Saturn is these rings of Saturn. Now these rings are made up of ice and dust. Now these rings are Saturn has a prominent system of rings consisting mostly of ice particles with a smaller amount of rocky debris and dust. Saturn is the least dense among all the planets. Its density is less than that of water. If Saturn is put into water, it will float. No matter what is the size of Saturn, it's all about the density. Water has higher density than of Saturn. So if Saturn is if it is immersed into the water, then it will start floating. The next is Uranus. It is the seventh planet from the sun, third largest and fourth most massive planet in the solar system. It rotates from east to west like Venus. Now we have two exceptions in our planets which rotates from east to west. Those are Venus and Uranus, and this Uranus is made up of hydrogen and helium gas. It has highly tilted rotational axis. As a result, in its orbital motion, it appears to roll on its side. This is the most remarkable feature of the Uranus. So if you will see its revolution on its orbit, then it will look like a ball is thrown on the floor. So it's look like it is rolling in its orbit like a ball. Then the last planet is Neptune. It is the fourth largest planet by diameter and the third largest by mass. It is less dense and the coldest planet. And it appears blue in color because of the methane gas. Now let's have a look on differences between a planet and a star. Planets move relative to stars. Now the position of planet is not fixed, obviously, because they move in their orbits, whereas stars are permanent, the stars are fixed on their positions. Then planets, they are nearer and larger. Planets appear as large disks when seen through a telescope, whereas stars appear as points of light even through the telescope because of the distance. Stars are very much far away from us, that is why they appear to be a point of light. One more difference is that planets are non-luminous bodies. They do not have light of their own, whereas stars emit their own light. Then the brighter planets do not twinkle, whereas stars appear to twinkle. So here comes your next internal question, which you have to write on page 243. Give two differences between a star and a planet, and you can mark any 2 points of your choice. Okay, now let's talk about some other members of the solar system. Not only star, planet, sun are there, other small bodies are also present, small celestial bodies like asteroids, meteors and comets. Now asteroid. Now this is our planet Mars and this is Jupiter. Now a gap is present between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, and that gap is occupied by small celestial objects known as asteroids. Now these are asteroids present between the between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. Each asteroid has its own orbit. Next celestial body is comet, and comet is visible only when it crosses the sun, when it is close to the sun, because this comet has highly elliptical orbit. So we can see comet only when it is close to the sun. Now it has head and tail. Now this tail is of dust and ionized gases. So this tail is visible to us when this comet moves away from the sun. Now each comet has their own orbit and their particular period of revolution. So one famous comet, which is known as Halley's comet, it is seen from the earth after every 76 years, because the period of revolution of this comet is 76 years. The next body is meteors. Now again, these are small celestial bodies, and these meteors are visible when these meteors enter the Earth's surface. Now when these bodies enter the Earth's surface, now atmosphere is there, a layer of air is present. So because of the friction of air, those small bodies, they get heat up and they start burning, and because of that they begin to emit light, they glow. Because of the burning of these meteors, a small part of them can reach to the Earth's surface, and when these meteors reach the Earth's surface, those are known as meteorites. The larger rocks, the larger meteors are known as meteorites, and it appears to be a shooting star, so we also call them shooting star. When you make wish, when you see a shooting star in the night sky, we make a wish. That is nothing but this meteor. Now this is meteor showers. It is the result of an interaction between a planet and a comet. These are seen when the Earth crosses the tail of the comet, because comet is visible when it is close to the sun. So the tail is visible to us. Then next topic, satellite. What is satellite? Satellite is an object which revolves around a planet. It is known as satellite. And we have two types of satellites, natural and artificial. Can you name what is our natural satellite? We have natural satellite, which is moon. The natural satellite is moon. And artificial satellite is which are made by humans. Natural satellite orbits around the planets. Moon is the only natural satellite of the Earth. Artificial satellites. These are man-made satellites that are launched in definite orbits from the Earth. They revolve around the Earth much closer than its natural satellite, Moon. It is used to forecast the weather, for telecommunication, remote sensing, etc. Now, what are the purpose of launching these artificial satellites? It is used in weather forecasting, in TVs, in radios, in remote sensing, in identifying the minerals which are present on the Earth's surface. So, for all these purposes, we use artificial satellite. Here are the list of few satellites which are launched by our country. Aryabhat, it is the first ever satellite which is launched by India. Then EduSat, Rohini. So here comes your last internal question. Write on page 245, name the first Indian satellite and the year in which it was launched. You have to mention the year also. So the first Indian satellite is Aryabhat and it was launched on 19 April 1975. So by that topic we are ending our chapter. I hope you understood the chapter well. Thank you.